Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
The push to the playoffs is getting ever more present, and tonight the drivers are going to push themselves at the paperclip because it's time for round 10 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series Season 7 presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It's the Tornado Alley E-Racing 200 laps of Martinsville, and we're live from the virtual Martinsville Speedway in Ridgeway, Virginia. Of course, we are on iRacing as always. And once again, my name is Jordy Carrer. Happy to be back on the broadcast with you here this weekend. This is Monday, of course. This is our signature night now. And we'll see how things go again. We're looking at the signature paperclip here, 0.52 miles, not just your signature half mile. But before we get into all that, we got to look at how things went down last week in Phoenix at the GTR Motorsports Phoenix 156. And it wound up being the number one of C.D. Mangrum out of Atlanta, Georgia, driving for Tornado Alley Racing in his Toyota, picking up the win. His first of the year, 9th of his career within the E-Motorsports Network. And it was looking like a Bryce Fontaine domination through the first couple stages, but ultimately got caught up in an incident at the start of stage 3. And that paved the way for C.D. Mangrum to be able to take the win, as I realized I just forgot to change the logos up in the corner, but that's totally fine. The focus is on the driver, and of course, he wasn't the only one to pick up some hardware as a result of the events of last week, because it was also the finale of our in-season challenge where the number 13 Blue Collar Racing Chevy of Jared Ireland picked up the win out of Eudora, Kansas. He did that on account of finishing third, which was best of the remaining drivers in the in-season challenge, as we'll take a look at our full results here now. As mentioned, C.D. Mangrum's 9th career win within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, ultimately breaking the goose egg for this year, though, and able to hold off a late charge from Bryce Fontaine after, again, an issue early in Stage 3 that caused him to drop down the field. Jared Ireland rounding out the podium, as mentioned earlier, a great drive from qualifying in 12th to be able to make his way up. And Kyle Knoll, how about him finishing in the top 5? Picking up a solid finish there, one he's certainly been needing, as we'll take a look at our standings here in a moment. Definitely, a couple of surprises there. You see Blake Thronberg down in 14th, 2 laps down after qualifying in 2nd. Just a drive-through penalty incurred midway through the race last week is what ultimately did him in, as we'll take a look at our in-season standings here now. As mentioned, we're through 9 of 22 rounds, but it means there's only 5 regular season rounds remaining before we finalize our field of 16 as we take a look at our overall standings here. You see Jordan Kalinian continuing to top the board with 480 points, 92 clear of Jared Ireland, and 285, clear of any kind of danger. And you see things getting a little bit tighter as you go down, but take a look at your bubble. As a note for anyone happening to look at the screen here, Kalinian, of course, in right now. That left column is who's in the playoff picture as it stands right now. So Lee Campbell holding down that final playoff spot. He's got a 4-point edge over the aforementioned Kyle Knoll and the number 42 of Tyler Fitzsimmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, So lots still to be decided, and keep an eye on Ryan Gibson there as well. 12 points back, and looking to build on some recent solid momentum here as well. So never count out the the original Season 1 Earl Ross Cup champ, as we're just about done with our practice session here. And as it is for our it'll be just a simple 2 laps over the course of 5 minutes. Best time is what winds up standing. And as we wait for that to finish up, we'll go ahead and take a quick look at our race analysis here for the evening. So, as you might have guessed, based on the name of the race, 200 laps in this one. Stages, you're looking at 40, 50, and 110. So, with a fuel window of 80 to 85 laps, realistically, you're only stopping twice for fuel, maybe a little top up in stage 1 to make sure you get through stage 2 without having to stop. And okay, being told in real time 70 to 73 laps. So that makes things a little more perilous. There's, you'll see on our board once I get it up to date. Should kick in. Well, maybe I have to turn the tab off in order to get that to properly update. At any rate, speaking of overzealous, that's not something you want to be on pit road. You've got 35 miles an hour as your speed limit there. And a guy very familiar with success here at Martinsville, Jordan Kalinian. He took the win last year. Of course, one of his now all-time records number of wins within the series. So we'll go ahead and turn that off as we are now into qualifying. Let's see if we can pop on board with last week's winner. There he is, CD Mangrum, in the number 1 Tornado Alley Racing Toyota out of Atlanta, Georgia. We know CD Mangrum has a lot of fans, but for those who happen to be watching us out there tonight, please drop us a note in the YouTube chat. Let us know where you're watching from, who you're cheering from, as it looks like we got a field of 19 drivers right now. Blake Thronberg currently at the top of the board. Mangrum about to set a time. And let's see where he jumps in. And only good for 6th right now, a quarter of a second back. There's your provisional pole sitter right now, Blake Thronberg, and just usurped by Jordan Kalinian, who breaks into the high 18s. Looking like an all control alt defeat front row as it stands right now. Mason Tomlinson jumping up into 3rd as well. And he's got his hyperdrive teammate Bryce Fontaine now down into 5th. CD Mangrum having just pipped him for 4th. And we'll see if Fontaine's able to... no, that was an in-lap. And so let's see who else is going to be out on track trying to qualify. Let's head to Ty Higginbotham, currently 11th in qualifying as it stands. Just about 0.4 of a second back from our leader. Of course, Higginbotham, a former Martinsville winner in his own right. But and indeed, he moves up to 4th with that time, 0.1 back. As we're still waiting for 5 drivers to make their presence felt. Doesn't look like Scott Bailey's going to be in that group. How about Kyle Knoll? Nothing there. Let's stay in North Carolina for John Williams. No dice there. So let's head up to Alberta for Matthew McDonald's. Still not on track. 2.5 minutes left in the session. But as it stands right now, it is last year's Martinsville winner Jordan Kalinian who stands to be on provisional pole. And again, he'll have his Control Alt Defeat Motorsports teammate Blake Thronberg on his outside if this result holds up. And just kind of taking a look through the preliminary order, here it looks like, well, let's just see. Well, I guess the first thing of note, no Jared Ireland this week. And I believe he did mention that in our post-race interview now that I think about it. Having made the most of his opportunity at Phoenix last week. Taking a week off this time around, but I'm sure we'll see him at the Lady in Black in a week's time as we've got another time on the board. It looks like Scott Bailey's moved up into 10th. See if he's still on track, and indeed he is. And we've got our first comment of the evening from James D. 1861. Go get him, son. Take that. Number 1 Toyota to the front. Rubbins Racing. Clearly he's looking for CD Mangrum to go back-to-back here tonight. As we'll see if anyone else gets on the board. Indeed, John Williams has set a time. Good for 15th right now. Oh, he's moved up to 11th. My camera's kind of betraying me here control-wise. Otherwise, I'd be trying to get to his lap. But as I say, he has moved up to 11th place on the board. And who knows, maybe with only 19 drivers in the field, Martinsville is a tight enough place as it is. Maybe that little extra room will allow some guys to breathe for a second. I expect that to last roughly until the green flag flies to begin the race. As we are just 15 seconds away from our practice session ending, as you can see on the screen. And again, it's looking an awful lot like Jordan Kalinian will be holding on to pole position here. As again, it doesn't look like we're going to get times from Matt McDonald, Lee Campbell, or Kyle Knoll. So they'll bring up the rear as, again, it will be Jordan Kalinian on pole position as we go ahead and do a quick changeover before our race gets started. And it looks like it'll be an on-track lineup here based on the positioning of the pace car. And again, I don't know why these little gremlins are deciding to pop up on me right about now, but let's see if we can get her all back in the right order. And again, it's kind of betraying me at the moment. But, of course, I'd rather it happen now than within the race itself. As it's just a little bit of a waiting game right now. And let's just see if I can line up the right look at least. There we go. That's looking a little promising. There we go. That sure looks like the head of the grid to me. And it looks like we're just waiting for a couple more guys to grid up. And you would think a couple of the seasoned vets would know by now. Not naming any names, but you know who you are. And once everybody's set, it looks like we are ready to roll our starting grid. And again, 19 drivers competing this evening, so let's go ahead and take it from the top, shall we? And as mentioned, it will be the 00 of Jordan Kalinian, the Control-Alt-Defeat Motorsports Toyota out of Salisbury, North Carolina, beginning on pole. And on his outside, he's got his Control-Alt-Defeat teammate. It's the defending Auroras Cup champ, Blake Thronberg, out of Graham, North Carolina, starting in second. On to row 2 now, where we have the number 4 of Mason Tomlinson driving for Hyperdrive Esports, his Toyota out of Eudora, Kansas tonight. And on the outside, the first of the Tornado Alley racing drivers here tonight, as you can see by the livery. The number 97 of Ty Higginbotham, his Toyota joins us from Kansas City, Missouri. And rounding out the top 5 is last week's winner in Phoenix, the number 1 of CD Mangrum out of Atlanta, Georgia. And again, driving for Tornado Alley. And then we get to our second Hyperdrive driver, last week's runner-up at Phoenix, but had a phenomenal race. The number 17 Toyota of Bryce Fountain out of Cape Coral, Florida. Again, driving for Hyperdrive. And what a run of Toyotas here. 5 of the top 6 That run does end in row 4, though, as we have the number 41 GTR Motorsports Ford of Jose Mercado out of Kissimmee, Florida, starting 7th. And on his outside, we have the number 8 of Scott Bailey driving for Blue Collar Racing. His Chevy out of Allendale, Michigan, will start 8th. On to row 5 now, and we have a 2-time winner this season, the number 60 Warrior Racing Ford of Justin Belmonte out of East Patchogue, New York, starting in 9th and rounding out the top 10. And this is notable here, folks, the number 12 of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. First and foremost, Mike, glad you're here and glad you're safe. I know the wildfires are kind of crazy up where you are right now. As we move along to row 6 now, where we find the number 5 Midpack Motorsports Chevy of John Williams joining us out of Moyock, North Carolina. And on his outside, we head to Dayton, Ohio, where we find the 519E Racing Ford of Andy Hurdle. And starting on row 7, a guy we haven't seen in a couple of weeks, the number 32 499 Motorsports Chevy of Charlie Sears out of Charlottesville, Virginia. Home state race for the 32. And on his outside, starting in 14th, the number 93 Big T Motorsports Chevy of Tom Janikowski joining us from Appleton, Wisconsin. On to row 8 now, where we find the number 22 Ford of Anthony Schauer driving for K-Tan Racing out of Chi-Town, Chicago, Illinois. And on his outside, starting in 16th, number 29 GTR Motorsports Toyota of Mario Ercolani out of Parsonsfield, Maine, as the field finally takes off. And it's going to be 3 pace laps, I'm told here by Race Control. So that'll give us plenty of time to introduce the remaining 3 drivers, beginning with the number 15 of Kyle Knoll in his Storm Surge Esports Toyota out of Raleigh, North Carolina, starting this one in 17th. On his outside, the number 25 of Matthew McDonald starts this one in 18th out of Calgary, Alberta in his Ford. And rounding out the field is the number 6 Ford of Lee Campbell joining us out of Ballston Spa, New York. And again, we've kind of seen the expectations here. How about a little look at the weather as we'll bring it back to the field. Still a couple pace laps to go. Again, track temperature relatively cool here this evening, but very humid, so that could make things a little slippery here at Martinsville. But again, 76 Fahrenheit there on the track temp. You wouldn't expect the tire wear to be overly terrible in that condition. And the drivers are starting with 6 sets regardless, so they've got options when it comes to rubber. As we'll go ahead and get into full-on race mode here. And they'll be going green next time around. And again, as a reminder, we're looking at 40 laps in this opening stage, 50 in stage 2. And then 110, that's our kind of marathon stage to end this one in stage 3. And that's really when the rubber's going to hit the road, so to speak. And there's a lot to be gained at such a short track as the pace car pulls off. That's going to give control of the field to Jordan Kalinian. And let's see when he decides to make his move. There is the line, I do believe, and we're off. Tonight's Tornado Alley Esports, or E-Racing, 200 laps of Martinsville is underway, and Kalinian gets a good jump. Tomlinson looking to get the inside line on Thronberg for second. And Tomlinson has poked ahead by a nose, and it looks like he's clear for the place. And couldn't quite tell if something was happening there in the background, and indeed it was. Took about 20 seconds, roughly the equivalent of a lap, and that's going to give us our first caution. So let's take a look, see where we can figure out what happened. I'm going to suspect John Williams was involved based on the leaderboard sitch. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off. Let's go ahead and take another look. So we're going to... Oh, we're already off with Williams there. So we're going to pretty much take it right back to the restart, or the green flag, excuse me. And we're going to watch Williams here coming through turns 1 and 2. Seems fairly straightforward coming through that first one onto the back straight into 3. And, not 100% sure. Oh, now I'm sure what happened. Like there may have been some contact there. Got into the back of Mike Marini, it would appear. Again, certainly Williams taking the worst of the damage as we'll go back live. And it's going to be an EOL penalty for John Williams as a result of that contact. First caution of the evening, and again, that sends Williams to pit lane. And he's going to have a bit of an uphill battle. It looks like Matt McDonald's also in pit lane as a result. And indeed, there he is. As we'll bring it back on track. And again, Martinsville, not necessarily a surprise to see it go down like this early. And not a whole lot of room to operate on this 0.52 mile track. Definitely an important distinction to make, folks, because as we know, length can matter in terms of short track classification. And while we're considering that, it looks like the lights have gone off on the pace car, so it looks like we're going green this time around. And so Jordan Kalinian will have control of the field here once more. And he got a good jump off the line last time around, and of course he is the reigning champion at Martinsville. And there he goes. We're back to green on lap 7 now of 200. Will be lap 7 anyway. There we go. And Kalinian's out comfortably again. Tomlinson in second. Thronberg might try to return the favor, but Tomlinson may have some aspirations on the outside. Give my thoughts on the other side because we're already at lap 8. That means we're remembering Kyle Busch. And just like that, we're back here for lap number 9 of 200 for the evening. Blake Thronberg's gotten back up into second place. Mason Tomlinson not wanting to let this one go so early, though. Not wanting to let the Control-Alt-Defeat Motorsports entries get too far out of sight. But Kalinian appearing in control early on. Obviously still a very long way to go in this one. And let's see if we can get a little bit of a different perspective here. Why not? And how about we go to a brewing battle between... we do have some trouble here. Not 100% sure what's going on just yet. I don't have a full view. And we're staying clear, it would appear. And so we remain at the front of the field for now. But now, as I say, we'll go to a brewing battle, as I would assume, based on the fact that he's been lapped, that Kyle Knoll was part of the equation there. And we'll take a quick peek back if we can, potentially. Looks like it was Tom Janikowski and Kyle Knoll getting tangled up. So, if we bring it back to... Oh, no. Maybe if I looked at the right number. 93 there. We just caught the tail end of it. Certainly Janikowski able to still go forward. Knoll spun around. And yeah, we bring it back live. And Kalinian still leading this one. Blake Thronberg may try and make a push here, though. Less than 3/10 separating the two. as we complete lap 15 onto lap 16. Almost already halfway through this opening stage. And again, we're looking at a fuel window of 70 to 73 laps, so no expectation for, any stops of any kind here in this stage, or really the second, because you would think based on a bit of a fuel top up, there'd be enough between stages to be able to make it through. And so, again, I'd been meaning to get to this a little bit earlier, but let's take a peek at a battle between back-to-back champions here. Season 3 champ Ty Higginbotham in 7th, trying to hold off the number 8 of Scott Bailey, Season 4's champ, in 8th. And again, Higginbotham with some solid history here as a former Martinsville winner. Looking to see if he can conjure the magic back up here. Again, a late start to his season. Wasn't able to join us too early on in the year, but immediately showed that he was back in the groove in his season debut a couple weeks back. I'm not 100% sure what I'm seeing there. I see a 59 in the chat. Maybe a little more context there would help. But for now, we will take a look at our leader. Oh, we'll hold off on that look as Bailey dives up the inside of Higginbotham and grabs the place. So nice move there from a veteran driver. And good on Higginbotham for racing classy and leaving the space. Meanwhile, we'll drop a little bit further down the field to check in on the number 32 of Charlie Sears, and specifically, we'll go inside the car with him as he tries to find a way past Justin Belmonte for 11th. And, oh dear, we may have to cut away from this as, Sears and Belmonte there. We do have a caution. Again, not necessarily sure if that was the reason for it. We just happened to be there. And looks like it happened kind of just behind them. The 29 of Mario Ercolani with a bit of a spin, we're told. And we're going to go ahead and take another look at that. See what happened here. We'll follow Ercolani. Oh, a bump in the back from Shower there. It doesn't look like that caused the spin, though. And so coming through, Ercolani looks like he just loses it. Maybe a little inadvertent touch from Shower coming through on the main stretch. It looks like a bit of a self-inflicted wound there for the 29, though. As we'll bring it back live, Ercolani into pit lane. And Charlie Sears into pit lane at the same time. Ditto for Justin Belmonte and Lee Campbell. And Noel is getting the right to get back onto the lead lap here now on lap 24. Again, last year it was our Aubrey's Lucky Turtle. Not so this time around. And Noel currently running in 16th. As we're on lap 25 of 200 in this one. Head back to the pace car. Get a sense of when we're starting this one up again. Second incident-related caution of the evening. And I would dare say it won't be the last. But that'll be the last we see of the lights on top of the pace car for now anyway, as we'll be getting back to green next lap. And so as a little bit of a reset, Jordan Kalinian continues to hold the lead. Control-Alt-Defeat Motorsports teammate Blake Thronberg on his outside in second. Mason Tomlinson there in third. Top three remains unchanged. C.D. Mangrum in fourth. Bryce Fontaine rounds out your top five. And now Kalinian has control of the field. And there he goes. Another good jump there out of the restart zone. And we're back to green. Tomlinson trying to follow him on the inside, trying to nudge past Thronberg through 2. But Thronberg not only holds on, he might have a run down low, but Kalinian shuts it down. And as he's done all night here, Jordan Kalinian holds the lead as we're on to lap number 28 now of 200. So at the line, it'll be 12 to go in this opening stage. And as things continue to get a little more comfortable-ish up front, we'll head back to, again, a battle between longtime veterans here of the series. Jose Mercado holding on to 6th place over Scott Bailey. And both trying to get to the back of CD Mangrum here to get into the top 5. Yeah, not quite a blimp camera, this TV one, but able to get a good look at the whole track for the most part. Some very insightful camera work here from the folks at iRacing for Martinsville. As we're down to 10 laps remaining here in stage 1. And looks like Thronberg trying to get on the inside of Kalinian. Let's get a closer look at that, shall we? And coming into 3 and 4. Looks like Thronberg has gotten clear. So, new leader in this one, Blake Thronberg, as we're on to lap 32 now. And Tomlinson might even fancy a go on the outside. Not quite close enough. But certainly you get the sense that Mason Tomlinson isn't wanting to just wait to let the race come to him. And Blake Thronberg will be happy for that as Kalinian and Tomlinson battle behind him, because that's just going to give him clearance as we're now on lap 33 of 240 in the stage. So 7 to go once Thronberg hits the line. And good battle for second here. Let's see if Tomlinson's able to grab it on the inside. Bryce Fontaine might even have a little bit of a sniff here. A couple of hyperdrive guys potentially in position to work together for second and third. Tomlinson maybe had to check up a little bit there. Has definitely been an eventful opening stage of tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 laps of Martinsville. It doesn't look like Tomlinson's shaping for anything right about now, but we'll see how he reacts in the next 4.5 laps. Right now that he's gotten the lead, my, that gap Blake Thronberg's opened up. He may be the one laying down an absolute marker here. Again, look at that gap just since he took the lead 5 laps ago. Up near 1.5 seconds, as he'll be at 3 laps to go in this stage once he gets to the line next time. And again, it seems like things have settled down a little bit here for the most part. We'll get a bit of an overhead view of what's going down, of course. We get it more or less from Scott Bailey's perspective. You see the gap between himself and Blake Thronberg. Thronberg right there on the left of your screen. 2 to go now in this opening stage. And yeah, I gotta say, this quote-unquote end line look we're getting for this camera, I kind of dig it, folks. But we'll bring it back to track level for our race leader, Blake Thronberg. Again, that gap, 1.6 seconds as we're into the final lap of stage 1. And after Jordan Kalinian's early dominance here in the stage, it is Thronberg staking his claim to the throne as the defending Earl Ross Cup champ takes stage 1 of tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 at Martinsville. And there goes the caution. So there's your top 10, folks. Blake Thronberg with the win. Jordan... Wait, did Tomlinson get Kalinian there at the end? Seeing him ahead. Again, not 100% sure. What I do know is that the stage winner graphic should not have gone with him because it's still with our stage winner. And Tomlinson showing ahead, so I think he did grab second from Jordan Kalinian. Bryce Fontaine fourth. CD Mangrum rounds out your top five. Jose Mercado sixth. Scott Bailey seventh. Mike Marini grabbing a few points in eighth. Ty Higginbotham ninth. Andy Hurdle rounds out your top 10 as we're going to go ahead and get our first full pit stops here of the evening between stages. And again, worth noting, Martinsville having the rather unique pit lane, a bit of a wraparound style. See if we can do a rear chase on Kalinian here. This should give us our best vantage point in terms of who jumps out first. Not a surprise. Thronberg, Kalinian out in second. Tomlinson third, Fontaine fourth. Or actually, that's all for naught because Charlie Sears stayed out. So he's going to be your race leader. Notably, he did pit after his bit of contact earlier. So a little bit off schedule in relation to the rest of the field. But again, that means that the Virginia native is going to be the one taking the green flag to begin stage 2. And as we wait for them to come around and wait for the restart here, we'll go ahead and fire off a super quick commercial. We'll be right back.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, folks. And yes, once again, I'm Jordy Carraher. I got to remember to actually shut that off. There goes the pace car. And again, Charlie Sears is going to be taking the field to green. He'll have stage winner Blake Thronberg on his outside, but there goes Sears. Great jump from the 32. See how quickly he gets swallowed up, though. Again, he'll be at a distinct tire disadvantage, and he's kind of helpless on the outside as Thronberg, Kalinian, and Fontaine just bully their way by. Tomlinson trying to do the same. It looks like it's going to be a futile battle here for Charlie Sears as he falls down to 5th off of the restart. And again, it looks like that's just a straight up demonstration of how important fresh rubber is going to be here tonight. As Sears continues his slide down the field, now into 6th. And we've got a caution here. And it is Scott Bailey who went around. So we'll definitely get another look at that. If I can. And it looks like it was a solo effort here. Just make sure we have enough time to get around for him. As he himself went around, we'll take another look. And again, I wouldn't expect a whole lot to change in terms of overall positioning here. And yeah, that might actually warrant a second look. We'll go back to the 8 one more time. And yeah, as mentioned by race control, totally self-inflicted in that case. So unfortunate for the 8, but if there's anyone equipped to bounce back with lots of time, I'd put my money on Scott Bailey fairly frequently, as we'll bring it back live. Blake Thronberg continuing to lead this one after Charlie Sears, who led to begin the stage, dropped down to 6th. Again, distinct disadvantage in terms of the tires in relation to the rest of the field around him. The lone driver to stay out. And yeah, as perhaps widely suspected, no penalty coming out of that. So just straight up racing misfortune rather than an incident so much. And yeah, the old maybe needed a little more in the front. A little bit too much of a party in the back there, some might say. As the pace car peels off, Blake Thronberg set to lead the field back to green. And he'll have Kalinian on the outside. 2 control-alt defeats in the front row, being chased by 2 hyperdrives. Thronberg with a great jump here as we're back to green on lap 51. Fontaine with a nice jump on the inside as well. He's going to slip past Kalinian and into second. But Blake Thronberg, oh, geez, a little bit of a lockup there coming through 3. And Fontaine's going to be all over that here soon enough. And a little bit of a self-inflicted wound there from Blake Thronberg, our race leader, but it looks like he's collected the car. Maybe touched a little bit too much of that inside curb coming through 3 that time, resulting in a bit of a lockup, but again, it looks like he's right at the ship here, so to speak. And we got an issue here involving Ty Higginbotham. He's going to peel right into pit lane, but we'll go ahead and take a quick look and see what happened to the 97. Assuming our camera actually gets to him. There he is. Trying to come through on the back straight, and yeah. And we got more trouble here. I can't keep up here. But it doesn't look like... And we do have a caution. Too many things happening here. And yeah, just looking for confirmation as to who may have been involved in that one. And getting word that it involved Charlie Sears and Andy Hurdle. So, again, with the benefit of replay, let's see what triggered our 4th caution of the evening. 4th incident-related caution, I should say. As, I think we may have just missed it there. Sears already having some trouble. Or maybe I missed what actually happened here, because you see Sears still, well... Maybe if I had it actually properly trained on him. There we go. There's Hurdle looking to take a dive down the inside. The room closes up. And yeah, Sears with a spin and goes straight into Hurdle's side. So again, maybe the humidity is proving to be a bit of an issue and making this track slick for our drivers tonight. And as you can see, the end result is an end-of-line penalty for Charlie Sears. So not the outing the Virginia native was hoping for, or at least not the second stage he was hoping for. As again, that's our 4th incident-related caution of the evening to this point, which should give us 5 total once we bring in stages, as we bring in our race summary. And indeed, it does say 5 cautions, 18 laps under caution to this point, 3 different leaders, including Blake Thronberg, the man at the top of the board right now. And so we're down to, it'll be 31 laps left in this middle stage once we get back to the, or we just crossed the line as a matter of fact, so we're on to lap 60. 31 to go, including this one in stage 2. And it looks like we're going to be getting back to green this time around. And again, it'll be the number 3 of Blake Thronberg, the defending Earl Ross Cup champ, leading them off the line. Again, assuming I can actually control some cameras here. At least it's keeping me in the right spot for now for this restart. Thronberg with a decent jump, but Fontaine going with him. Kalinian maybe with a little bit of a sniff up the inside. And some rubbing there between Fontaine and Kalinian for second. And Mercado even trying to get in on the action there as well. He's up to 4th. But Blake Thronberg looking like he's trying to get away from everyone. But we'll focus on Jose Mercado here, a name we haven't really said much here tonight to this point. But again, he's worked his way up to 4th with aspirations of moving up the podium here a little bit, or up the field a little bit, as Kalinian and Fontaine continue to battle. Blake Thronberg not minding that one bit, and yeah, getting word Jose Mercado just setting the fastest lap of the race with, or Thronberg, excuse me. And again, we saw, CD Mangrum causing a caution here. That's going to be caution number 6 of the evening. That's incident related, or 5 incident related, I should say. So let's go. And let's see, it's going to be Mangrum and Shower here, it would appear. And we're going to have a few seconds of build up, as we're being told it's turn 3 where it happened. Yeah, there's definitely a push there from Shower, and trying to send Mangrum to the showers, so to speak. So I would imagine we're looking at an EOL for the 22, but feel free to confirm that. Confirmation, again, not necessarily a surprise. End of line penalty for the number 22 of Anthony Shower as a result of that contact. And hard to believe after the issue he had a little bit earlier, Ty Higginbotham's going to get waved around. He's going to find himself back on the lead lap. So we'll see what kind of time he has to work his way back around to the head of the field. Maybe a little damage still there to the front. He's just not blitzed. He's gotten past Shower there as he completes his EOL sentence. And it'll be 24 laps to go in this middle stage once we get back to the line. And again, by way of a quick reset, Blake Thronberg continues to lead this one, looking like the car to beat once he gets into clear air. Bryce Fontaine running second. That'll be a fun restart once again. Jordan Kalinian there in third after leading the opening 30 laps of this one. Jose Mercado running fourth. Mason Tomlinson looking competitive earlier. Rounds out our top 5. As again, it'll be Thronberg leading us back to the line. And we'll get it from this view this time. And again, Fontaine able to go with Thronberg. Well timed there from the 17, but the 3 still able to get out to that clear air. As we're on lap 68 of 200 here now, just past 1/3 distance. And we already have a caution on, a not so nice outcome to that lap. And it looks like that's a double dose of pain for Scott Bailey here, as we'll do a little bit more investigative work. So this should be bringing us back to the restart. Get it from this perspective here. Bailey at the back of the field. Actually, we'll reverse it. Try to Make a move there on Janikowski. Maybe had to check up and, yeah, winds up spinning. So, again, that's two such issues here for Scott Bailey tonight. Not his evening, to say the very least, as we see Higginbotham back in pit lane. Back to live pictures here now on lap 70 of 200. As arguably the pace car might have the most airtime of anybody tonight. And so our top five remaining unchanged here as we look to yet another restart here, presumably on lap 73. And again, that'll mean Blake Thronberg leading this one, Bryce Fontaine in second on the outside, Jordan Collini in third, Jose Mercado fourth, Mason Tomlinson rounding out your top five. Looking a little further down the top 10, we have Mike Marini running sixth, Justin Belmonte with a nice recovery after an early incident to find himself in seventh, ditto with Mario Ercolani in eighth, John Williams in ninth, cue up the inspirational orchestral music for that one, while Lee Campbell rounds out the top 10 in the number 6. And, I mean, we've all seen how scrappy this race has been. I think that's a generous term. Being told by Race Control, we only have 6 of our 19 drivers who have a clean evening to this point, meaning 0 incident points. And we'll bring it back to our race leader, Blake Thronberg, as there he goes. Fontaine maybe caught off guard a little bit. But there's a bit of a slingshot forward for the 17 to hold on to second. But that's going to let Thronberg get away here early. And you know what? Just in case something happens to go awry, let's go high to see if we can actually see everything. On to lap 74 of 200, so it'll be 16 left in the stage once they get back to the line. And everybody largely in the shot here right now. Yeah, lap 75 now. Thronberg already pushing that gap out to a little over 6/10. Bryce Fontaine not wanting to let him get too far away. And Kel Surprise, Blake Thronberg in clear air. Newsflash, he's fast. Once again, fastest lap of the race that time around. As he set a time of 19.035 that time around. See if he beats it in his latest effort. Doesn't appear so. Oh boy, we have an issue in 1 and 2, and we've got another caution. So, things slow down once again. And let's see if we can pick out the parties here. Yeah, not quite figuring it out based on the leaderboard. Usually that's how I more or less figure it out. Unfortunately, let's try tie to see if it's... And being told Ercolani and Williams caught up in this one, so let's see if we can do a little of investigative work. So we're going to check in on... Oh, there's Williams up high. So you see the end result. Now we just got to figure out how we actually got there. So, back to Ercolani. In on the inside, and yeah, that room wasn't there. And just awaiting a confirmation in my ear. I thought I heard something, but not so much that time. And yeah, pretty much what I suspected. End of line for Mario Ercolani, penalty-wise anyway. Certainly not the end of the line in terms of his overall race. He's already made his way forward following an incident. But definitely momentum lacking, shall we say, in this second stage. As if we take a look at our race summary, where are we caution-wise now? 8. Yeah, 8 cautions in this one, of course, one of those being the stage caution. So 7 on-track incidents. And no, folks, we're not at Atlanta. Believe it or not, this is a different track. And it looks like we're on track to go back racing next time around. There'll be 9 laps left in the stage at that point. As we'll lose the race summary. Again, it'll be... Stop me if you've heard this one before. Blake Thronberg leading them off the line. As the pace car heads back into pit lane. And we'll see what the threes got in store. Into the restart zone. Again, good jump. Tomlinson may have a run on the inside. Meanwhile, did Jordan Kalinian get caught up in something that we missed? Dropping down to 9th after running at the head of the field most of the night. May have missed something there with the 00. That'll be worth an investigation later. But what's not up for debate is Blake Thronberg's speed whenever, again, he's into clear air. And okay, so that's definitely a plausible thing there, being informed that Kalinian actually pit. And Matt McDonald, before I can get that thought out, that triggers yet another caution. And let's head on back to him. See what the 25 got up to. And again on the inside, and looked like it might have been largely self-inflicted, but again, we'll get a closer look at it this time. On the back straight coming into 3 is McDonald. And yeah, the old corner gremlin grabbed him. Nothing really to see there from anybody else, unfortunately. But that will bring a couple more drivers into pit lane, notably C.D. Mangrum and Anthony Schauer trailing in behind. And we shall see if the maths here. We're looking at a green-white checkered potentially to end stage 2. But at least Blake Thronberg's had plenty of restart practice here in this middle stage. See if he tries to mix it up a little on lap 87. And the fact that the lights are still on, looks like we're only going to be getting 2 laps, I would say. Because restart, the earliest we could go now is 89. So yeah, looking at 2 to go. And you know what? It would be admirable if we could last 40 seconds without an incident here. As the lights go out, so confirmation that it will be lap 89 on the restart. And so, once again we reset. Blake Thronberg leading, Bryce Fontaine second, Mason Tomlinson third, Jose Mercado fourth, Justin Belmonte sneaking up briefly into the top 5 because that spot actually belongs to Mike Marini. Belmonte 6th, John Williams 7th, Jordan Kalinian and Williams trading positions. Charlie Sears creeping up into 9th, Higginbotham in 10th, All the action's at the front, though. 2 to go. Thronberg bunches him up, and away he goes. And we'll see if we can get a clean finish here in stage 2. Thronberg making his way around. And looking fairly comfortable there in that view. We saw everybody make it through. We're on to the final lap here of stage 2. And again, it's Thronberg leading. And we're going to end under caution, as we'll see if we can figure out who actually went for a bit of a loop there. Perhaps CD Mangrum. At any rate, again, the stage ends under caution. So you would have to think that'll make the restart just a little bit earlier. But again, either way, it is absolutely not CD Mangrum winning the stage. It is, in fact, Blake Thronberg sweeping as we head to pit lane. And confirmation now that the early pit stop should be paying dividends for Jordan Kalinian, as he'll be regaining the race lead to begin stage 3. Meanwhile, everyone else is on pit lane. And again, the expectation would be full service here. Thronberg crosses the line first out of those who did pit. Fontaine second. And it looks like we had 4 drivers stay out here. Jordan Kalinian, Lee Campbell, CD Mangrum, and Scott Bailey. And then you'll have the chase pack behind. And again, Kalinian absolutely did not win the stage, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. And once again, while we get everybody reconfigured here, we'll go ahead and step away for a super quick break, and we'll be back for the restarts on the other side of the Tornado Alley Racing 200 laps at Martinsville, part of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series, presented by our title, Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, folks, there you see the pace car peeling away once more. It'll be Jordan Kalinian leading them off the line, Lee Campbell second, CD Mangrum third, Scott Bailey fourth. Those drivers stayed out or pitted a little bit earlier. And they're going to be chased by a group that did get full service as we're back underway on lap 95 of 200. Not even half distance here at Martinsville. Fontaine into the wall out of 2, shower spins! And that's going to be a caution. So let's see what happens. It looks like Matt McDonald may have been caught up in that as well. So we may as well just run it all the way back to the restart if we can. And indeed we will. And we'll get it from the perspective of Anthony Shower here as the aggrieved. And Shower on the inside. Yeah, Fontaine we saw into the wall a little bit earlier. 3 wide at Martinsville. Yeah, that happens. Take one more look at it as, again, Matt McDonald became collateral in that. Yeah, there you see Fontaine getting out of line early. And it looks like it'll be, yeah, you see the tag there from Williams that got Shower spinning to begin with. So let's go to John Williams here as we're being told Justin Belmonte back on the lead lap. There's Fontaine with the wall tap. And yeah, Williams spins shower around. And that's the reason the 5 is grabbing an EOL for his troubles. Which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Race Control, is that his second of the night? Yeah, not 100% sure on that one. And again, in case you missed it there a second ago, Justin Belmonte back on the lead lap as a result of that caution, which surely that brings us into the double digits now. And we only have 4 clean cars remaining, as I'm going to go ahead and call that 10 cautions here caused by incidents, because one of them was pretty much right before a stage break. And so it'll be Jordan Kalinian leading them back off again. CD Mangermont is outside. But Thronberg with a little bump to his teammate Kalinian, and there goes the 0-0. And Thronberg moves up into second. And that 3 has looked awfully, for lack of a better term here, intimidating tonight whenever it's been at the head of the field. And Blake Thronberg looking to put his stamp on tonight's Tornado Alley E-Racing 200 laps of Martinsville. But he's... And we're being told there's more trouble here in the back, and yet another caution. All right, let's see where we're going for this one. And looks like Mike Marini might be the party involved this time round. Let's see if we can go back and figure out what happened. So again, this is a replay. And Marini running comfortably. Oh, was there a little tap from Fontaine coming through? Have to see on that one. So we'll take another look here. Go back to Marini running alongside Campbell. And yeah, Fontaine tried to find all sorts of ways past. Wound up picking that way. And a little bit of a side swipe there from Janikowski for good measure. And that's Marini into pit lane as we're back live. Ty Higginbotham also pitting here. The 97's definitely seen better days. And so we kind of suspected it based on the aggression that we were seeing, or the eagerness, shall we say, to get through. But yeah, the end result is Bryce Fontaine end of line there that time. And so we've now limped past the halfway point of tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 laps of Martinsville. While we've got a minute, let's go ahead and hear from the fans in the chat here on YouTube. Again, let us know where you're watching from, who you're cheering for. We always love that fan interaction. As we're going to go green next time around. That'll be lap 106 out of 200. And again, my gut instinct, in case something happens, is to go high here. See if we can spot something early. Amp things up a little volume-wise as Jordan Kalinian's turned up the heat on the restart. We're back underway. And, oh, a touch there from Bailey on Thronberg. And that could be worth another look here as Scott Bailey moves up into second. But what did I say earlier? We've seen Scott Bailey spin twice. Somehow he's back into second. The guy who always seems to make things work in the long run finds himself trying to get to the back of Jordan Kalinian. But again, worth a closer look at how exactly he got there, as we will actually peel back, take a quick look on the replay. Yeah, you'll see it right here. Bailey on the inside, and yeah, gets Thronberg loose through two. So ultimately, again, you see what the end result is. Scott Bailey up into second, Blake Thronberg down into ninth. Now battling Bryce Fontaine for 8th place. And getting word Fontaine hit the inside wall. This third stage has been an absolute calamity here for the 17. And we'll see how both he and Blake Thronberg are able to recover. Fontaine finds himself down in 15th now as a result. It's not the way he would have expected things to go, as Thronberg looks to plot out his charge back to the head of the field. Trying to shape for something on Shower here for 7th. Maybe even a little loose there out of 4. But this is the guy everybody's chasing right now. Jordan Kalinian, our series leader. And he's got about 1.2 seconds between himself and Scott Bailey right now. And boy, oh boy, this is a rather interesting trio to see in our top 3, Kalinian, Bailey, and Tomlinson. Anyone recall a few weeks back that pit lane exit that was 3 wide? Yeah, it was this trio. However, this might be the end of Jordan Kalinian's momentum here, as he did stay out in one of the cautions late in stage 2. Or he stayed out during that period where everyone else pitted, as he had pitted earlier, as we've got a caution. And the old neutralizer is out once again, as it looks like Matt McDonald's night has just gone from bad to worse. Let's take a look, as we'll check in on the 25. See what happens to him. Being pursued by Belmonte. And relative nothing burger here so far. Belmonte with room on the inside. Looks fairly straightforward to this point. And oh, yeah, that'll do it. Lee Campbell picking up an EOL penalty, and there you see exactly why. So not ideal, to say the very least, for either of them, as McDonald finds himself in pit lane. And again, Lee Campbell will find himself as the penalized party here. Don't think there's a whole lot of argument to be had there. And we'll see how everything shakes out here shortly. Jordan Kalinian continuing to lead. And it looked like both Scott Bailey and Mason Tomlinson were starting to catch him as it was. I wonder if Kalinian might have had an issue that saw half his lead get eroded. So the caution might be an opportune reset here for the 00. And we'll resume the drama here in about 25 seconds time, as the lights have gone out, meaning we're looking at the restart here shortly. And it'll be Kalinian and Tomlinson here on the restart. Bailey running third. And there goes the pace car. And we'll see what Kalinian's got off the restart. And Tomlinson did have to check up a little bit because he was ahead, but Kalinian goes. Tomlinson goes with him. Bailey trying to sneak through on the inside. Not a whole lot of movement at the head of the field. Mercado remains fourth. Mangrum rounds out your top five. Thronberg continuing his climb, though he's back into sixth. Just chomping at the bit to try and get back to the head of the field, where he looked very, very comfortable for the lion's share of the evening. And we only have 2 drivers who have escaped the wrath of the incident system here. And okay, one of them is your race leader, as a matter of fact, Jordan Kalinian. The other, he's running in 5th, the number 41 of Jose Mercado. And, you know, I've been doing this for 7 seasons now. If you told me, and I say this as a friend of his now in this, if you told me Jose Mercado would be one of the last 2 standing in terms of incident reports, I think we would both laugh at that, quite frankly. But here he is, and he's looking to keep things clean here through the remaining 78 laps, 77 once they get back to the line. Yeah, he knows what I'm referring to. We're all good. It's not talking out of school there. However, Tomlinson maybe trying to take Kalinian to school here. Maybe shaping up for a move through 1 and 2. And wow, 128 incident points. Tomlinson with a fantastic run out of 4, though. See if he has room on the inside. And you know, Tomlinson would be hungry to get rid of that goose egg in relation to the career wins mark within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series. That 4 has looked very good, but again, you almost hear the Jaws music as you see the 3 making its way back up. Thronberg's climb has him into 3rd. And these 3 have effectively left Scott Bailey and the rest of the chasing fields, well, not quite fully behind, but almost a second separating 3rd and 4th at the moment. But again, it's all about, you know, Jordan Kalinian making his way back to the head of the field. Holding on to the lead, Tomlinson with a brush off the wall. But still able to keep the momentum moving forward in 2nd. Again, Blake Thronberg running in 3rd. Looking to complete the comeback here after an early incident in stage 3. But you know what? I am gonna take the chance here, mainly because my voice is demanding it. We're gonna, you know, step aside here for a second, and you know what? Let's just see how a Crank It Up goes, shall we? And to my utter shock, we've managed to get through a crank it up without incident here. So thank you to our friends at TrackCams22.com. Again, a past provider of cameras for the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series. We haven't gone to them yet this year anyway, as we see Charlie Sears going down low there. Not 100% sure. Oh, diving into pit lane. That would be it. However, let's go back to our race leaders. Jordan Kalinian, we saw him, Mason Tomlinson, and Blake Thronberg going through lap traffic during that crank it up, as we see John Williams making his way into pit lane. And again, this seems like it would be the right time for the one green flag pit stop. We're certainly well within the window. Again, we were expecting a 70 to 73 lap fuel window here for the evening. And with an extra set or two of tires, it could work out not too badly here. Although, given the way the night's gone, it may not be the worst idea to at least keep a set in reserve for a late restart. As Kalinian again tries to navigate lap traffic, he's got Mason Tomlinson right on his back bumper though. Although it's Lee Campbell and Kyle Knoll racing for position right ahead. Kalinian goes down low, Campbell goes high, and side by side there, and yeah, not quite contact, but certainly Kalinian had to take a bit of avoiding action as Knoll finally does go high. And this is our lead trio through into clean air, and just a touch over 0.3 of a second separating them. Let's see if Tomlinson gets a run down the straight. Tomlinson on the inside, and he's going to get through here. Mason Tomlinson is your leader. Let's see what kind of answer Kalinian has. Feels like this has been developing here for a little bit for Mason Tomlinson, but now he's got control of the lead as we're down to 49 laps to go here. Or at least that'll be the case once they get back to the line. And again, none of these drivers have pitted yet, obviously, in this final stage. Tom Janikowski, however, is in. And we saw Charlie Sears and John Williams in a little bit earlier. That's why they're both 2 laps down in 16th and 17th, respectively. But let's see what Tomlinson does with a little bit of clean air in front of him. Certainly looking encouraging here so far, as he's built up a lead of almost 0.7 of a second over Jordan Kalinian. And again, I wonder if this is where Kalinian's decision to pit a little bit earlier might come back to haunt him. I wonder if he's starting to feel it a little bit in terms of the tire life, as there goes Thronberg. So I wonder if Kalinian will be tracking to come into pit lane here relatively soon. Certainly worth watching here, as Mason Tomlinson leads this one 0.8 over Blake Thronberg in second. And confirmation, Jordan Kalinian is in fact coming into pit lane. There he goes. So suspected it was an end of life thing in relation to those tires, and seems like that suspicion winds up correct, as there's Jose Mercado in right behind him. And so we're looking at, it'll be 44 laps on this final stint. Should be plenty. See how much the weather's changed over the course of the evening as we bring it back on track. Tomlinson going right by. And surprisingly, the track temperature's gone up in that time. Again, if you recall, the track temperature started around the mid-70s Fahrenheit. Now it's up to 85, it would appear. While retaining the 95% humidity. So, yeah, longer run here being pointed out by race control. Certainly a factor in that going up. And the longer it goes, as we're being told, Blake Thronberg's now in, and there he is. Yeah, the longer this run goes, the track temperature is just going to keep on climbing. As is Mason Tomlinson's lead at the moment, which is now 4.5 seconds over second place Scott Bailey. Again, notably, Tomlinson has yet to make his pit stop. You know, he would certainly be praying for a caution right about now. Take the cheaper pit stop, obviously. Oh, as he goes high! Into the wall. We'll see how much that hurts him. Yeah, not 100% sure, and yeah, that's got to be the indicator there. Tomlinson, yeah, you see him making the dive into pit lane now. So there's Tomlinson into pit lane. Scott Bailey inherits the race lead. A little over a second gap between himself and Mike Marini in second. In net second, there we go. As, yeah, we'll see. Well, we'll keep an eye on things here. Tomlinson, of course, having to wind his way around into that third pit box. But again, it's Scott Bailey currently your race leader. And Tomlinson takes two to try and save some time here. And let's see where he comes out in relation. And that's looking like a fantastic move because Tomlinson stays on the lead lap here. Thronberg's still a lap down. So adventurous gamble, or actually Thronberg jumped him on the board. So maybe Thronberg only took two as well. And yeah, we're still cycling, of course, through the pit stops here in this final stage. So still a lot left to be shaken out, but certainly it looks like things have benefited Blake Thronberg here, currently running in 10th. As he's going to try and sneak past Lee Campbell here. Again, Scott Bailey continues to lead this one, as he's a little bit off schedule in relation to his pit stops. Oh, we've got a caution here, though. And didn't quite catch the name in the background. Kyle Knoll appears to be the aggrieved here. And if you're Scott Bailey, you got to be feeling pretty good here now. You're going to take your pit stop under yellow, as we'll see what's happened to Kyle Knoll here. And yeah, going through one. And not that time around. We might be a lap behind here. Coming through three. Looking like he's fairly racy with Shower. Cross the line into one. And yeah. There it is. Again, kind of self-inflicted once again. And again, I would be shocked if Scott Bailey isn't in pit lane. And indeed, there he is. As we bring it back live. And taking the full four tires, this is potentially an incredible opportunity here for Scott Bailey, knowing that at minimum, Mason Tomlinson only took two. Scott Bailey on a full set of four tires. This could be a pivotal moment in tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 laps of Martinsville. And again, we still have to see how this shakes out. We have some cars that'll need to get waved around, you would think. And okay, that'll do it. And there's Thronberg re-emerging. And again, we still have a little bit to sort out here before we get back to green. Lap 100, well, about to start 170, as yeah, the pace car just doesn't exist apparently. And yeah, we're seeing cars getting the wave around here. Like the folks who were our leaders previously, with the exception of Williams there. You see Tomlinson, Kalinian, Mercado, and Knoll following his recent incidents going through. And looks like we're getting one extra lap here in this caution. One guy who won't mind that, though, will be Scott Bailey, as that would bring him one lap closer to the end here. Still, about 15 miles to navigate, roughly. As we'll be going green next time around. Scott Bailey to lead them off the line. Mike Marini second. Mario Ercolani there in third. CD Mangrum fourth. Anthony Schauer rounds out your top five. Justin Belmonte sixth. Bryce Fontaine in seventh. Again, not a great start to stage 3 for him, but he's hanging around. Matt McDonald finding himself in eighth. Mason Tomlinson ninth. Still a couple seconds back. Not quite at the back of the secondary field. But there goes Bailey on the restart. And immediately went to cover the higher line on Marini, and that's going to let Ercolani push through into second. At least for the time being, as Higginbotham's into the front wall. But it looks like we're going to stay green. And Mangrum looking really loose there on the straight, and he's going to run up into the wall. Just all coming apart if you're a Tornado Alley driver in your race here tonight. But it's Scott Bailey and Mario Ercolani here running 1-2. With, huge wreck. And if you're a fan of Canadian alt rock in the 90s, yes, folks, that was in fact a big wreck. And let's see whose luck got wasted. Well, there's a couple of guesses. Let's find out what's happened now. As trying to get to, there's Matt McDonald. So we saw him on the front stretch. Mangrum just wild there through turns 1 and 2. This could be a run of attrition here by the end of it. And initially Schauer caught up. McDonald pushes through. Schauer into the wall. Campbell spins. This is a whole lot of yikes. And just absolutely all of the things happening there. As now... Okay, 182 incident points. Yeah, I feel like there's a blink joke in there somewhere, but, I feel like you blink and you miss something here tonight. And, well, we're being told, nobody's scot-free. Scott Bailey would like to be free here in about 24 laps time. As we're on a lap 177 of 200, as the number of caution laps is just going to keep climbing here. 15 cautions, 51 laps under caution. And it looks like Schauer's going to be ending, well, he's going to be hitting the showers, it would appear. And Justin Belmonte's our... he's our good boy of the day right now on 2 incident points. Not sure what the NASCAR equivalent of the Lady Bing trophy is. Most sportsmanlike, I guess. Somewhere in there. And on the other side of things, we do have 24 incident points there for other drivers in the field. And let's figure out what's going on here. We assure you not everybody else is 16 laps down. And I've gone ahead and preemptively, I guess, done that, as we see a restart without a scoreboard here, which means I can't exactly show you what's going on. We're with Tom Janikowski right now toward the back of the field. I promise I'm getting up to the head of the field as quickly as I possibly can. Oh, boy! As we see Mercado checking up there. Everything happening. Well, everything. Okay, so V. All right. Scott Bailey. Oh, man, a bit of a checkup there. Was that Marini, perhaps? All of the things are happening right now. Except, oh, Tomlinson turned around in the background. So I gotta find the mouse here. I swear that's not a euphemism. Okay, everything, again, happening all at once here. Just, yeah, bear with me here as I try to get our leaderboard back desperately. Again, the one thing we know is Scott Bailey's at the head of the board still. Okay, now we can do it. And I'll go ahead and get rid of that. Just absolutely shocking timing on this. All right, let's figure out exactly where we stand right about now. Being told Blake Thronberg will be back on the lead lap. Yeah. You know the night's going, a certain way when even the overlay has said it's had enough. So, let's see where exactly we are. There we go. 18 laps to go. Scott Bailey leads this one. Mario Ercolani second. Bryce Fontaine third. CD Mangrum fourth. Jordan Kalinian rounding out the top five. Justin Belmonte sixth. Matt McDonald somehow hanging around in seventh. Jose Mercado eighth. Ty Higginbotham ninth. And Kyle Knoll rounds out your top 10. We'll see just how many more laps we have before the restart. I'm going to suspect 15. As I'm suspecting the lights will turn off right about meow. Yep. 16 to go in this one. Again, Scott Bailey. Okay, again, we should remember, of course, that this race is the... Maybe if I can actually spell correctly. Think about resetting these overlays. As there goes the pace car. And so, with 15 laps to go, we're going to do it all over again. And Bailey gets a great jump off the line. Fontaine's going to follow him into second. That inside line has been powerful off of the restarts here tonight. And yeah, Bailey finding some clear air, which obviously is, super important at a short track like Martinsville. Hard to get hurt if you're in the lead. And Bailey finds himself jumping out to a 0.4 of a second lead. Ercolani running wide into the wall, in fact, out of two. He's going to let Kalinian through into third, Mangrum into fourth. And Belmonte going to try and push through into the top five. Ercolani holds on for now. But again, Scott Bailey continues to lead this one, 13 to go. Fontaine with a little brush off the wall. And yeah, if you're Scott Bailey, you have to love the prospect of Bryce Fontaine and Jordan Kalinian battling behind. But also just as notably, you would have to think for the overall standings here, as there's definitely been a couple of races where we haven't seen Scott Bailey this evening. In fact, coming in, even with a couple of races off, he still found himself in 9th in the overall standings, but this would just further solidify his claim to get back toward the top, as looks like Mike Marini's in for an extended pit stop stay, as we're down to 10 laps to go in this one. And Bailey continues to build up his lead, roughly 7/10 of a second now over Fontaine in second. And you know, Jordan Kalinian's just chomping at the bit to try and find a way by. As we're into the single digits now, 9 to go. And again, Bailey looking pretty good right about now. Second among our active drivers in wins. If he was to hold on here, he'd be looking at win number 14 in his career. But he's still got a few miles to go before he can lock that one in. As he's onto the back straight. Coming to the line this time, it'll be 7 to go. As again, Fontaine and Kalinian are in close quarters. But again, there's just something to be said for that clear air and fortunate timing in the case of Scott Bailey being able to make that pit stop under yellow. And he's kept his nose relatively clean here ever since those couple of spins earlier in the evening. He's fought back, and like I said, if there's one guy I would trust to figure things out in the long run, number 8's right at the top of my list. As we're down to 5 laps to go now in tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 at Martinsville. And let's go ahead and go a little bit further down the field. Not that far back, though. Mario Ercolani trying to find a way past Jordan Kalinian potentially for third. 3-car battle for second, as a matter of fact. Bryce Fontaine not out of the woods. Mason Tomlinson in fifth. Oh boy, what do we have here? Are we looking at a caution? Yeah, we are. Of course we are. As, let's see, we have Blake Thronberg in pit lane. Disconnect. Not 100% sure what's happened so far. We'll need a bit of clarification on this. And what I do know is we're looking at a green-white checkered here. As we are most certainly not finishing under caution. Again, I would suspect the lack of a Blake Thronberg on track would give us an inclination as to where we need to be going. If I can find it here, though. Okay, so yeah, more to it than meets the eye, perhaps. We won't go much further than that. But again, what we do know, green-white checkered is the formula here moving forward. Now, I gotta make sure, get to the right camera, there we go. And again, it'll be Scott Bailey leading them off the line on this restart. Again, this is where the full 4 tires may very well come into play for the 8 on that last service. And let's just see. Going green next time. Let's check the pace car. And yeah, lights are out. All right. First attempt at it here with our race leader, Scott Bailey. From the view of the pace car. And pace car should pull in right about now. Once it gets past this inside wall, there it goes. It's going to hand control of the race back to the 8. And Fontaine's going to be just aiming for an opportunity here. But again, it's Bailey controlling things off the restart. There he goes. And here's attempt number 1 at a green-white checkered finish. Bailey gets away nicely. Kalinian up the inside into second. Bailey not wanting to let him get away. Williams into the wall. No, into the inside wall. And that's attempt number 1 gone by the wayside. And there we kind of saw how that was developing. We'll take another look at it. Again, we'll see it from the perspective of the 15 if we can. And we're right with him. Maybe even a little bit of a check up there on the inside lane. Noel gets away clean relatively. Hanging on to that inside line. And, was there a little something there from Higginbotham coming through? Let's take another look. Because you'll see Higginbotham make his way up. And get it from the cockpit perspective. And no, I think that's just netcode right there. What it looked like from my perspective anyway. But regardless of how we got there, we're looking at green-white checkered attempt number 2 in a couple laps time. And so again, it'll be Scott Bailey looking to hold back the horses, so to speak. Jordan Kalinian on his outside, Bryce Fontaine in third. But again, it looks like that inside line has been the place to be on these restarts. As we're going to go green next time around. And again, Scott Bailey looking to hold off Jordan Kalinian, who's looking for win number 23 in his career. Bailey, of course, looking for win number 14. Meanwhile, you have Mason Tomlinson there in 4th, still looking for his first as the pace car peels away. Scott Bailey's going to try this once more. Try to at least see the white flag this time. And there goes Bailey again. That inside line appears to be the place. Bailey goes high to block off Kalinian. He's going to let Fontaine push his nose in there into second. And that's McDonald up into the wall. But it looks like we stay green. Everybody's staying forward. And Bailey's going to see the white flag here. Final lap of tonight's Tornado Alley E-Racing 200 at Martinsville. Bailey's got the clean air. He's got the battle. Fontaine spins from Kalinian. Ercolani in a second. He's drifting. But Scott Bailey, he's going to survive it. Bailey wins. Scott Bailey surviving the war of attrition here tonight. And again, that's going to result in his 14th career win within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. He breaks the goose egg for this year as the Allendale, Michigan native finds himself in victory lane. And Bailey, you'd have to think, would be, relieved to get the monkey off the back here, so to speak. As we'll do a bit of a final tabulation here in terms of the number of flags that threw out. Yeah, lots of laundry on track tonight. 18 cautions, 17 of which would have been incident related. And believe the number I heard in my ear, 240 incident points. The only points that matter to Scott Bailey right now, though, the 55 that he gets rewarded with for the win here tonight. And I thought we were going to see the reverse victory lap. Potentially, definitely some burnouts from the 8. Well, just looking to utterly kill the engine here on the start-finish straight, because why not? And there we'll get a better look at the celebrations. Okay, why did... Oh, I guess that would be Bailey disconnecting there and me getting pushed over. So we're going to go ahead and try to break down what was a rather eventful race. As we'll go ahead and add, well, again, maybe if I can spell correctly, that'll help. All right, let's take a peek at some unofficial results for tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 Laps of Martinsville, where again, it was Scott Bailey surviving the carnage and the chaos to pick up his first win of the year, 14th of his career in the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. Mason Tomlinson plays runner-up in this one after looking very strong earlier in Stage 3, ultimately settles for second. Jordan Kalinian rounds out our podium here in third. Jose Mercado comes home fourth. Justin Belmonte rounds out the top 5. CD Mangrum in the first of the Tornado Alley entries, 6th. He's got his teammate Ty Higginbotham right behind him there in 7th. Then it's Mario Ercolani, who briefly had a shot at the win there late, finishing 8th. Lee Campbell, the last car to finish on the lead lap, in 9th, as Bryce Fontaine rounds out the top 10, 1 lap down. Taking a look at the back half of the field now, Kyle Knoll comes home 11th, also a lap down. John Williams, 1 lap down as well. Matt McDonald finishes in 13th, 2 laps down. Mike Marini, 3 laps down in 14th. Then you have few drivers whose nights got a little bit longer here, admittedly. Blake Thronberg, 12 laps down in 15th. Tom Janikowski in 16th, 16 laps down. Anthony Schauer, 33 laps down in 17th. Charlie Sears, even 50 laps down in 18th. And rounding out the field, Andy Hurdle, after getting tagged pretty early on, he ended his race early in Stage 2. And so we'll go ahead and try to make heads and tails of what's gone on here at tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 Laps of Martinsville. And we should have a pretty eventful podium here, or our post-race chat. So we'll go ahead and take a little bit of a break here to sort of take a breath, and then we'll chat to our top 3 on the other side. So don't go anywhere, as coverage of tonight's E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series race presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change, the Tornado Alley E-Racing 200 Laps of Martinsville, continues on the other side. Stay with us.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, folks, as I say, we're looking at our top 3 chat here momentarily for tonight's Tornado Alley E-Racing 200 Laps of Martinsville. Just going to confirm that our Discord audio chat is in fact working. We'll go ahead and unmute. Hopefully we'll get some levels here. We'll find out soon enough, though, as we'll just see what kind of coordination we're looking at on the other side. And yeah, it looks like everybody's pretty well good to go. Again, I'm not 100% sure if, again, I'm bringing them in or if we're going to have some assistance in bringing everybody in, but let's go ahead and try it out. So we'll go from third to first here. Why not? So Coming into the top 3 chat first, out of Salisbury, North Carolina, driving for Control Alt Defeat Motorsports in the Toyota, finishing third tonight once again, is our series leader, the 00 of Jordan Kalinian. Jordan, do you have a copy? All right, you've got me, but apparently the Discord chat or my OBS does not. So just going to figure this out super quick. Let's see what I need to do. I might just have to re-add it in here. So let's see how this will go. Again, trying to figure things out in real time isn't always the easiest thing in the world to do. Let's just see if I can figure out what the problem might be. And again, I hate that this always seems to happen whenever Scott Bailey's on a podium. I swear to God, it is not personal there whatsoever. Let's just see. So, yeah, trying to figure this out in real time. Test, check. Again, yeah, Jordan, I know you said you could hear me before, but yeah, nothing was coming through on your side. So yeah, not 100% sure how we're going to do this. So let's again, the little things that happen in the heat of the moment. Okay, might just have to shut off Discord and restart it. So again, we're working through some technical difficulties right this second. We'll be right back. As again, I'm just going to restart Discord on my side of things. Hopefully that provides an answer. And okay. And again, certainly a lot to talk about in this one, so I'm definitely eager to talk to our top 3. Yeah, just a matter of getting everything sorted out properly here. Okay. That just taking a second for Discord to warm back up for me. Now, all told, it's been relatively reliable for most of the season. Just, of course, the one moment I need it right about for me. But, yeah, rest assured, we'll have this sorted out sooner rather than later. Okay, so let's see if I can go ahead and jump back in. Oh, hang on just a second there, guys. I'll be right back with you. Let me just make sure that the audio actually does work from Discord this time. Hopefully it does. Okay. Yeah, luckily right this second you guys are good, so feel free to keep chatting in the meantime. And let's just see. Oh, I think we have levels this time around. So yeah, we'll do, again, the full intro from third to first. So again, as mentioned earlier, finishing third, our series leader, the 00 Control Alt Defeat Motorsports Toyota of Salisbury, North Carolina. It is Jordan Kalinian. Jordan, let's confirm again. Do we have a copy?
Yes, sir.
Yes, now we got it this time. And finishing in the runner-up spot from Eudora, Kansas, driving for Hyperdrive Esports. And yeah, finishing second, the number 4 of Mason Tomlinson. Mason, are you there?
Yes, sir.
And once again, tonight's winner for the 14th time in his career in the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. Tonight's ultimate survivor, the Season 4 Earl Ross Cup champ. He's back in victory lane, though, after a little bit. It's the number 8 of Scott Bailey out of Allendale, Michigan, driving for Blue Collar Racing. Scotty, great to talk to you, man.
Yeah, I got you there, Jordy. Appreciate
Yes, I got all 3 of yous here after, again, what was a very eventful evening here at Martinsville. Again, not necessarily a surprise given the track's kind of preceding reputation. So, yeah, we'll head to Scott first. Obviously, it wasn't a, there was a win. It was kind of a war of attrition, so to speak. Obviously, you had a couple of spins early on, but I mentioned over the course of the broadcast, if there's a guy that I would trust on a late run within the E-Motorsports network to kind of figure things out, you were right at the top of the list. So what were you able to kind of sort out as you were kind of having those earlier issues to kind of make your way back up to the head of the field and ultimately be able to pull out the win here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I ran up front for the first stage and just got into some, I would say, just tough positions a couple times in the second stage. So I just decided to myself that I was just going to pace myself, not going to push it. It's like I couldn't read all the cars around me. Some people were driving it in super deep, and some people were backing off early. So it was just a mixed bag once you got towards the mid or back of the field. So I found myself, getting messed up, messing up my line because of that. So I just kind of laid back, let those guys kind of play it out. Made sure to keep my bumper clean after that because I did have a minute and a half of damage that I had to get fixed. So once I got that fixed, I was just kind of cruising, and then we had that long green flag run, and I knew my best shot was just to run long and hope for a caution. I think I was running fourth when the run started. Stayed in fourth. But I didn't have. I was down on tires. Didn't have the speed of the front guys. Um, on that run. So I knew if I just followed them into pit lane, I was going to follow them the rest of the race. So ended up working out. Got the caution 2 laps before I was going to pit. So.
Yeah, sometimes timing's everything there, right? And yeah, take me through those two green white checkers finish attempts from your perspective from defending. Obviously, you would have had to do a fair bit even before that as well. I believe there were a couple other cautions in that meantime. Obviously, you've got plenty of experience in this arena, but what was the biggest key to you sort of keeping your head in those moments?
Well, I'll be honest. We had about a 20 lap run there to end it, and three to go. Caution comes out, and I was just like, man, this has been my luck all year. Last week, Phoenix, I felt like I had a car that could compete for the win. Finally, took the lead coming out of the last pit cycle, and ended up getting wrecked on the restart. So I was like, oh boy, here we go again. But I knew I had a strategy with my restarts. I had been getting a good jump the last 3 or 4 restarts, so just stuck with the strategy. Was not going to give up the inside. Was going to make people pass me on the outside or wreck me. So, and everybody did a good job behind us. You know, keeping it clean for the most part. Obviously, they got into it a little bit at the last corner, but that's coming to the checkered. That happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you were talking about the kind of car you had there tonight to make things happen. Mason, you were toward the head of the field for the lion's share of the evening as well, even having a decent run in the lead there late in stage three. And ultimately you wound up with an incident, but it's, pushed back up into second. In that time, like, again, not the result you would have wanted here tonight, but how proud are you of sort of your ability to kind of battle back through the field, especially given the limited time to do so?
Um, I mean, the cautions helped and the wrecks. I missed a lot of those. I don't know, man. I haven't won in this league, and that one stung because I feel like I did just about everything right until that caution came out after we pit, and I started pulling away. They pitted early, and I uh, I just decided to stay out a few more laps, and I knew that they might pass me, but I took 2 tires, and that's been working well all year at most ovals, and I was I felt I don't know, I didn't see the numbers, but I felt like I was catching Blake after that pit stop. He also had traffic in front of him. Um, Even then, if I didn't win, I would just like to race it out. That caution put me in a bad spot, and so I was lucky to get second. I'm good points day though. Um, but man, I just want to win this league so bad, and I felt like I had a real shot tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there for sure. Obviously, we saw it over the course of the evening here. And, Jordan, you were obviously part of that equation there as well. Obviously, you led the kind of earlier stages of the race before Blake got by you, but then you got back into the lead to begin stage three. So I guess from that point to the end, knowing it was, such a long run, 110 laps, like, obviously, again, same idea as Mason. The results in the end didn't necessarily work out, but yeah, from your perspective, how do you think tonight kind of shaped up for you?
Yeah, I mean, started on pole, so that was nice. Able to lead a little bit that first stage, and then had to do some strategy to get back to the lead and to start the third stage. That just kind of put us 10 laps or so less fuel, so I had to pit a little bit sooner than the rest of the guys, and that unfortunately got me caught by that same caution that got Mason. But up until that point, I had four tires, and I think they both took two in front of me, and I was hoping that that would do something and might be able to get back around them. But yeah, unfortunately, that caution got us, and just same deal as Mason.
Yeah, and obviously there was a fair amount of that over the course of the evening. I believe we counted 17 incident cautions there over the course of the evening. So I'll open this one up to the floor here. Obviously, this kind of situation, it'd be nothing new to any of you with, your experience within iRacing in this kind of, universe as well. But yeah, maybe just take me inside the cockpit here. Just kind of give me a sense of what it's like to kind of work your way through the overall stop start nature of a race like tonight. And again, that's open to anybody.
I think it depends where you restart. If
Yeah.
you're mid pack, it can just be chaos. I try to be as kind as I can, watch out for people in front of me, but inevitably, you get somebody that checks up in front of you, and then you get hit from behind, and chain reaction type of stuff happens. And that, honestly, that's Martinsville. Um, I don't love racing here in iRacing just because it seems like it's so hard to get green flag runs. I love the track, but I don't love the racing here. Just like I said, that green flag run was awesome, but we don't get that enough, so it tends to just drag on.
All right, Mason and Jordan, anything to kind of add to that?
You just if you fly up on someone off a corner, you got to take the run. You just got to be careful to not lock your tires up and slide into them. But then if you don't get it, you can lose several spots, whether you're on the inside or outside if you mess up. And so sometimes you just got to pick and choose when to follow in line or pick a different line and just be patient without letting cars by you. And that was hard to do with all them restarts because it just stacked everyone back up and then everyone gets aggressive again. But
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, pretty much what Mason just said there. End of the race, you just kind of got to put the nose where it'll fit, and hopefully people give you space, but you got to just make up spots where you can, and the restart's the best spot to do that. So you try to stay out of the doors and just keep it going straight, but inevitably stuff happens, and then just try to avoid those wrecks, and hopefully you can gain some spots through that. But yeah, overall, it's just kind of a mess, and you hope you get through.
Yeah, and as if Martinsville wasn't enough of a challenge, next week we find ourselves trying to tame the lady in black at the Ameriparker Racing Darlington 250 from the iconic Darlington Raceway. So again, given how things went tonight, I'd love to hear an early assessment from all three of you guys of expectations going into next week, and may as well just run the same order here. So, Scotty, we'll hear from you first.
I actually think Darlington is going to get spread out, and we're going to see a lot of green flag running because the racing surface is so narrow that even when guys spin, a lot of times they spin off the racing surface and it doesn't pull out a caution. But I just think there's so much driver input that can change lap to lap, that really affects your lap speed, that I think it gets spread out, and hopefully we see some long green flag runs.
All righty, Mason.
I'm looking forward to it. I like Darlington. It's a really hard track and it's real easy to ruin your race in one corner. But it's I think like he said, I think we're gonna see some green flags and there's gonna be some people wrecking because it's so tight and the tires get roasted. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a track that most people don't like, and I tend to do decent there. I think I got third last year. So maybe we can have a clean race and have another shot next week.
All right, Jordan, wrap us up here.
Yeah, it's a really fun track. You get to use a lot of kind of unique lines, which creates some opportunities. But I think overall, dirty air is probably going to be the word of the day next week. And you're just kind of going to get a lot of green flag runs by way of we're not really able to get side by side very easily. So you're probably going to see cars get spaced out about a second and some long green flag runs. And uh, maybe some guys will be able to make it through the field, but just see how it goes and what the setup is like.
Yeah, and we've got a week to figure all that out. But obviously, before I let you guys take off here, we'll, and as we customarily do, we'll kind of give some final shout outs to those who kind of help you guys go racing every week. So, again, we'll start from the top of the podium. Scott.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to my teammates. We put in a lot of practice with blue collar racing. Um, just overall, the field. I mean, you get broadcast team. You guys do an awesome job, but for the most part, I think we have some really clean racers in this league, and that's what makes it fun to come back. Right? Is good, fun, clean racing. Obviously, tonight wasn't the perfect example of that, but I think for the most part, everybody does a really good job. So I appreciate that.
All right, Mason.
Oh yeah, I just want to thank you for taking care of the broadcast every week, and for the most part up front, it was good, hard, clean racing, and got pretty exciting. And of course, got to thank the wife and kid for always watching. Well, the kid's a little young to watch, but he's sitting right there. And got to thank my teammate Bryce. He's taught me a lot over the last few years, whether it's being patient or just finding more speed and little things that if you don't do, you're not gonna have a chance. So yeah, it's a fun league, man, when things go smooth.
All righty, Jordan.
Yep, just appreciate the league and everybody for putting this on, especially race control tonight. Corbin earned his money, so shout out to him, and look forward to doing it again next week.
All right, and we appreciate everything you guys do on track. Again, congratulations on the finishes here tonight, and yeah, we'll see you to do it all again in a week's time, gents.
Thanks, Jordy.
Yep, thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, folks, so that was your top 3 from tonight's Tornado Alley Racing 200 laps of Martinsville. Again, your winner for the 14th time in his career, first time in season 7, the number 8 of Scott Bailey, driving for Blue Collar Racing out of Allendale, Michigan in the Chevy. Finishing second, Mason Tomlinson in the Hyperdrive Esports Toyota out of Eudora, Kansas. And rounding out our podium is the 00, our series leader, Jordan Kalinian, driving for Control Alt Defeat Motorsports out of Salisbury, North Carolina. And once again, we are headed to Darlington next week for the AmeriParker Racing Darlington 250 at the track Too Tough to Tame. Stream will start roughly about the same time, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. And we hope to see you there. But for now, this was another presentation of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. My name's Jordy Carraher. We are grateful to everyone who's stuck with us here tonight for an entertaining and eventful race. And we look forward to doing it all again at Darlington in a week's time. See you then.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.